I found these data that I thought were really kind of interesting. These are, Pew did they do a lot of research all over the world, and they picked 35 countries just asking people if they believe in an afterlife. Now, they kind of define this in some way, but some kind of afterlife in which you, in our bodies and in our kind of, at some level, integrated mind and body, are going to live after we leave our bodies. And, look at the differences are pretty astounding. 85% in Indonesia, look at Turkey, Kenya, and then down in India. I'm surprised India is so low, but I understand that it's low and why. But look at Sweden, the Scandinavian countries are all going to be kind of low. And, in the U.S., it's 70%. That means 30% of the people don't believe in an afterlife. And by the way, what we're seeing increasingly these days is that there used to be a very distinct difference between older people and younger people, but now we're seeing that those differences are starting to shrink considerably. Then I found this, which I thought was really interesting, that there are spirits in part of the natural world. So that means plants, animals, mountains, trees, the whole thing. You look at those differences, that's pretty fundamental. Korea, by the way, 36%. So Emerson, why don't you just say, like with your dad, why don't you just say it right now? It's better.
My dad died 18 days ago.
It was a long death, right? Yeah.
He battled stage 4 colon cancer for 10 months. Mm-hmm. He was diagnosed on his birthday on May 19th, 2025.
Texted Emerson to say, hey, do you want to volunteer today? And you said, no, I can't, because you were with your dad in the hospital. And but he wanted you to volunteer.
Yes.
Yeah, which is really cool. And so, I just happened to be doing this class and said, hey, do you want to be part of it? And you said yes. So that's really important, okay? Because it's really important to understand that, because this is really, it's delicate, man. So I appreciate you being willing to be here. It's cool. Let me ask you all some questions, okay? Let me start. How often do you think about death?
Recently, a lot, just because similar. My aunt passed away last year, and it's been like a recent topic.
Mm-hmm. So you're thinking about it a fair amount. And when you say you think about it a lot, what's that mean for you?
Like, I feel like I think about, like, obviously, like, she was I'm not going to just talk about her, but she was a big part of my life. So I, think about her every day. So, it's, I think about that, and then that connects to death.
I wouldn't say I think about it, a lot. For me, I think it comes in, waves, because I lost my grandma about 3 years ago, and it really impacted my family. And so, kind of like what he was saying, whenever I think about her, I think about dying and death.
Mm-hmm. Do you think about your own dying and your own death, or do you think about
just in general, especially with everything that's going on in the world, it's definitely prominent more, and I've been thinking about it a lot more, but...
Emerson, before your dad was diagnosed, how often were you thinking about death?
Before he was diagnosed, I honestly didn't think about it a lot. I just figured I'm pretty young, I have nothing to worry about. It just wasn't really ever in the forefront of my mind.
Okay, how about you, man? How often do you think about wait, hang on. You think you're wrestling with God, with the gods on this one. So, yeah. I chose you because of what you wrote in your volunteer form.
I fear death a lot, naturally. So I was like, what would happen after death? Because from modern science perspective, it's nothing, which is a little hard to imagine, right? Imagining nothing. So I came up with a lot of different theories on my own of what would happen after death, which meant I was thinking about it quite a lot. And basically ended up figuring that if God existed, it's kind of like a curse.
death is like a curse.
No, the afterlife part is like a curse.
Yeah, you said that death. It's been really difficult for you to stomach it. I think is what you wrote.
Yes.
Yeah. Peter, how about you?
Not that a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think everybody here has those phases in life where, like, it's like late at night and you're lying in your bed. You kind of get dark thoughts, and that's like part of it.
Wait, dark thought. What are dark thoughts
Like
for
death.
you?
About your family, death about yourself. What happens afterwards? How do you survive afterwards? Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I'm not like
Hey, go
thinking
back
about
to
that much.
Go back to that question about life after the afterlife. Do you? What would you say about an afterlife?
I believe in afterlife personally.
What's that mean?
I would like to say safety, like a safe feeling, right? Because you know what's gonna happen after death. But in reality, I'm equally as confused as everybody else and questioning.
Well, some people don't. Some people think they're not confused. So
Yeah, I kind of envy them. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a certainty, and they're so confident about they're living life as if they know where they're going. I don't know where I'm going. So
yeah.
Basically, I'm wrestling with the concept of death. So not a particular God, because there's a lot of variations and complexity. So I would like to not really think about too much, like go over there.
Okay, so when you think about the people who are most
Certain.
who are most certain,
Yeah.
do you think the people are going to different places? The people who are most certain they're going to go there, and the people that are less certain they're going to go somewhere else or whatever? Because Peter said, "Hey, I envy people who are most certain." That.
Yeah, I mean, I envy too. It's nice knowing that you don't care what's going to happen afterwards, right? You are certain that that's going to happen. So it's a good feeling to know what's going to happen. But then I like to overthink, so not really a good feeling for me.
How often are people around you talking about death?
Not a lot. Like I said, I lost my grandma like 3 years ago, so my mom will talk about it a lot because it's really affected her. But other than that, nobody around me really talks about it unless like I bring it up or something, which I don't really bring it up. But
And you don't bring it up because
I don't know. I don't like to think about it. It's a very heavy topic, I feel like. And
you don't like to think about it because. I mean, you said heavy, but what makes it heavy?
In a way, it's kind of scary to think about what happens after. But
What makes it scary?
I don't know. It's just like for me, it's like a very dreadful feeling, like kind of like leaving everything behind and not knowing what happens after.
Do you feel like it's dreadful? Do you have that? Like, where's your dad right now?
I kind of think, I don't really know what religion I am. I think he's like watching over, but I don't know how. I kind of think that he can see what I'm doing, and like I think he can watch my everyday life, but I don't necessarily know where he is.
Is that getting you through right now? Is it getting you through the grief process? And
I think it kind of is. I know that like, I don't know the scientific terms of it, but every person's like body has like energy in it, and energy can't be destroyed. So I kind of think that like when people die, their energy has to go somewhere. That's kind of getting me through thinking that he's still here, if that makes sense.
Because you were really close to him, right?
Yes, he was like my best friend.
Really? So therefore, for you, it's essential to see his energy is still there, really, as part of you, as being part of your life still. How about what makes death so dark? What makes it so scary?
Personally, I don't think I fear death because everyone has to go through it eventually. So I don't really think I would be afraid of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But and when you think about people around you dying,
Yeah.
your closest people, how is that? Like, where do you go?
We think, so in Sikhism, which I'm a Sikh, we think of reincarnation. So we basically think that unless you like reach spiritual enlightenment, you just are in an endless cycle of rebirth, basically.
So you were here before.
Yeah.
Not as with your name, but your spirit was here in a different body.
Yeah.
And some kind of articulated spirit. And that spirit was in a different body and a different one and a different one. And the fact that yours came back is an indication that you didn't reach a level of enlightenment in any of those, that your spirit didn't in any of those past incarnations, so you're still here.
Yeah.
How is it helpful for you to see death, to see our lives as really rooted in reincarnation? Because we don't have that. You said your dad is out there watching you, but he's not is he coming back?
No.
He's not coming back. Okay, so if you were sick, you would say he's coming back. Can you say more about that?
So an example of this is when my aunt died. So my mom, she believes that her sister comes back as like a ladybug. And every time there's like, we went to a funeral recently, and there's a ladybug next to her, like on her shoulder. So
a ladybug?
Yeah. So she believes that was her.
That was your aunt?
Her sister, yeah.
Her sister. You know, can I just say something? I want to say something on this. You know, that there are people who study reincarnation, and what they study in particular are children who, as soon as they start talking about their previous lives. They start talking about, like, hey, this isn't my life, that's not my name, you're not my parents, these kinds of things. As soon as they begin talking, like, 2, 3 years old, why are you calling me Jupjud? How'd I do? Okay? Yeah. Why are you calling me that? Because that's not my name. And so what people have done is isolate these kids and really try to capture as much information as possible about who they are and what they're talking about. And they try to create the person, like the snapshot of the person that they're talking about. And then they investigate what this person, and they try to track down who that person is or was. And it's really quite, and this is using the scientific method. I mean, really being very, very careful about this. And there are just an infinite number of cases of people who have been able to identify that child's previous incarnation, and there's no way that child would know all of the information that they were talking about. I mean, down to like which house they lived in and what the house looked like, and the dog they had and the previous color of the house and the school they went to. And there's one case that I was reading about, because I get obsessed with this, where this child walked in the house and said, hey, this isn't the living room of the house I grew up in, because it's different. And they just realized that, they had built a new wall in the living room that was never there. And the child said, in my closet, I lived in the back bedroom, in my closet, when I was a kid, it was a really old house, I wrote my name on the inside of the closet wall. And they went back there, and the kid's name was on the inside of the closet wall. And that was decades earlier, man. So anyway, it's really fascinating to imagine.